see your amazing facilitation skills, but we didn't know that you were such a comedian also. So anyway, thank you so much, Prabhu. And thank you, Adi Purush Prabhu. Always your chanting is absolutely transcendental. We really appreciate it. And we're so grateful to be here with the Bhakti Center family. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for welcoming us. Tagora.
Hari Hari.
Something, Raji?
Yeah, Haribo. So we're grateful. We're so grateful. Grateful to see everyone this morning, and grateful to be in Ananda Bihari's Prabhu's Association. Of course, I was thinking, how could anyone not be happy hearing Adipurusha chant in the mornings? How could you not be happy? I mean, you just start out the day happy. You're hearing him chant, chanting the Sringadev prayers, just hearing him chant, just hear him sing. He's so enthusiastic. Nitai Gora Haribo. So because Adi chants in the mornings, we're just going to go ahead and read the verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Haranam Navasrityam Navanchayam Varotamo Devam Saraswati Vyasam Darayam Hudayat Nasta Parishu Abhadreshu Ityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki. Jai. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 69, Text 41. And I'll do the Sanskrit, and Ekavira Prabhu will read the verse. You could read in the verse?
Okay, yes.
Okay. Vishuka Uvacha Itacharanam Sadharma Dharman Bhavanam Grihamehinam Bhavanam Grihamedhinam Tameva Savagrihishu Santam Ekam Dadarshaha. Sri Shuka Uvacha. Shukadev Goswami said, Iti, thus, acharantam, performing, sat, spiritual, dharman, the principles of religion, pavanam, purifying, grihamedinam, for householders, tam, him, eva, him, sarva, in all, griheshu, the palaces, santam, present, ekam, in one form, dadarshaha, he saw. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
So translation, Shukadev Goswami said, thus in every palace, Narada saw the Lord in his same personal form, executing the transcendental principles of religion that purify those engaged in household affairs. Purport. In this verse, Shukadev Goswami repeats what the Lord has himself explained. As Srila Prabhupada writes in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was engaged in his so-called household affairs in order to teach people how one can sanctify one's household life, although he may be attached to the imprisonment of material existence. Actually, one is obliged to continue the term of material existence because of household life. But the Lord, being very kind upon householders, demonstrated the path of sanctifying ordinary household life. Because Krishna is the center of all activities, a Krishna conscious householder's life is transcendental to Vedic injunctions and is automatically sanctified. As stated in text 2 of this chapter, all the Lord's activities in many palaces were performed by the Lord's single spiritual form, Ekana Vapusha, which manifest in many places at once. This vision was revealed to Narada because of his desire to see it and the Lord's desire to show it to them. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur points out that the other residents of Dwarka could see only in the particular part of the city they themselves occupy and not anywhere else, even if they would sometimes go to another precinct on some business. Thus, the Lord gave a special view of his pastimes to his beloved devotee, Narada Muni. Om Agadata Madhyasa, Ganagana Shalaka, Shakshuram Militamina, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobhisham, Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamaya, Rati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Padakamala, Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam, Sahagana Raghunatambitam, Tam Tajiva, Sadvaitam, Sadvarutam, Parijana Saitam, Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Radha, Krishna Padam, Sahagana Lalita, Shri Vishakam Vitamscha, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu Jagapate, Gopisha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostate, Tapta Kancana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavameshwari, Vishabhanu Sutta Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Vipa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Vipa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo
Namo Namaha.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So then I read the text again. Translation again. Lord Krishna. Oops. Sukadeva Goswami said, thus in every palace, Narada saw the Lord in his same personal form, executing the transcendental principles of religion that purify those engaged in householder affairs. So this point, Narada saw the Lord in his same personal form everywhere. And of course, then the disciples of Srila Prabhupada point out in Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur's purport of this particular text, that Narada Muni saw this vision, whereas the other residents of Dwarka could not see Krishna, only in the particular part of the city they themselves occupied, and not anywhere else, even if they would go to other precincts on some business. And so this is an interesting point that is expressed here. All of the devotees having direct association with the Lord in Dwarka Lila. And why is it that Narada Muni was afforded this opportunity to actually see the Lord in this way, whereas other residents were not? And that is basically is expressed right here in the purport, the desire. Narada Muni had this strong desire to actually behold the vision of the Lord in this beloved pastime in this way. And so the Lord fulfilled his particular desire, as he's fulfilling all of the desires in Dwarka Lila, who had different relationships or different moods in the relationship than Narada Muni. And so Krishna actually expresses that in Bhagavad Gita, that the Lord reciprocates as one surrenders unto As one surrenders unto me, I reward them accordingly. Bhagavad Gita 4:11. And so this not only is, pertains to one's general surrender, but also the mood in which one actually wants to develop this relationship with the Lord. And so as within the context of this particular verse, Krishna even manifests, which Vrajalila will go into more and more detail. Krishna manifests the in this Leela, the qualities that are exemplified in householder life to cultivate this desire. And the desire that Narada actually expresses and exemplifies is this attachment to the lotus feet of Krishna. And so how did Narada Muni actually develop this quality? Of course, I know that this the pastime of Narada Muni has been gone into throughout the actual chapter, and I know devotees have actually spoken on it, but we'll just touch on some aspects. Of course, we know Narada, he's that transcendental spaceman. He travels all throughout the different universes, chanting the glories of Krishna and Narayana. And he has this gyan, this knowledge, vast knowledge of so many different subjects. He's just well versed in so many areas: art, music, philosophy, practically everything. In this day and age, what's relevant to us, which I think is kind of funny. I heard someone express that Narada is seen as the first transcendental journalist. And so Narada Muni would carry information throughout the different universes of the different pastimes of the Lord and sharing it. And he would share it. He became, he was endeared by so many, whether saints or demons. They acknowledged and they appreciated Narada Muni whenever he came into their association. And so therefore he had this quality. He was a friend to all living entities. And so when he brings all this information, of course, he brings this information in order to carry out the desires of the Lord, to help assist in the pastimes of the Lord. Sometimes he's seen as an instigator in these particular pastimes. It's like in the pastime, Krishna Lila with Kamsa, acts as an instigator and, speaks to Kamsa. If you fool, don't you know this eighth son will kill you? Actually, he instigates this because he wants to actually see bring about the appearance of the Lord and a expedient manner. And this is also the desire of the Lord. And so, of course, we won't go in there any more of the different aspects of his how he came into this posture. But at the same time, just wanted to emphasize that his desire, his attachment to the service of the Lord and to share what he had been given is the mood of the servant. And because of this particular mood that Sri Narada actually has, this qualified him to be so many different great personalities. See, he was a spiritual master, Prahlad Maharaj, and Dhruva Maharaj, Vyasadeva, Valmiki Muni, Hari the Hunter, so many other, devotees. And this was based upon his desire to actually please the Lord, Samsadya Haritoshan. And so in this verse, Krishna is so merciful. He's exemplifying the qualities of a householder and how one can develop, how one can purify the desires in this ashram to actually walk in the footsteps as we are instructed in the Shastras and following in the footsteps of the Mahajans. And Narada Muni is one of those Mahajans. And so Krishna is giving his example throughout this whole pastime. And Vrajalila will share more about Krishna's exemplary qualities.
Yeah, Hari Hari Bol. Ekavira, Prabhu. I saw something that Jeffrey wrote in the chat, and I thought, well, let me look at this and share about Krishna's activities, Krishna being the exemplary grihasta. Let's see what Jeffrey Prabhu is saying. He says, this verse is very beautiful from our modern perspective, however, quite subversive in the time that it was written, when the centers of power, temples, churches were the purified, sanctified spaces and rituals. Communion with God was reserved for the leaders of those centers of power to occur in their designated spaces. Whoa, okay, let's go from there then. Thank you, Jeffrey Prabhu. So, yeah, Jamuna Jaya, thank you so much. Jamuna Jaya says, I was thinking he too is at Yoga Maya. And okay, Annabelle says Hare Krishna. So yes, absolutely. Krishna is exemplary. Krishna teaches us that in Bhagavad Gita, that whatever a great man does, common people follow. And so therefore Krishna himself, he always does great things. And of course, Srila Prabhupada reminds us that we are not to imitate what Krishna does. That's not our position. We're simply to understand by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada how these, as Ekavira Prabhu was saying, these different examples after Krishna that teaches us about Grihastha life. So Ekavira and I, we have this little sutra that we keep on our bookshelf behind us. And this little sutra, for those of us as Jeffrey is saying, in terms of modernity and modern times, we follow the sutra. It says, a perfect marriage is just two imperfect people who refuse to give up on each other. A perfect marriage is two imperfect people who refuse to give up on each other. Now, because Krishna knew that he had to present different ways for grihastas that are imperfect to eventually come to this process of understanding how to become perfect grihastas. He himself exemplified, and we won't go into that because the next chapter, the whole entire chapter, gives us all the verses are based on Krishna's activities, what he does during the day, what we can learn from how Krishna exemplified his own grihastha life. However, it's important to mention a couple of things, only because basically all grihasthas are endeared to Krishna because of following these two basic principles. So firstly, let's look at when this text where Srila Prabhupada in Krishna, I'm sorry, in the purport, Prabhupada, it's the translation, it's explained. Krishna executes transcendental principles of religion for purification of those engaged in household affairs. So we understand Krishna himself is the example for all of us in how to practice grihastha life. However, we are living in modern times where these practices that Krishna has given to us, not everyone may be able to follow this. Therefore, Krishna created the system of varnashram. And so in this system of varnashram, it's important to know what is our varna, and our varna is basically a person's designation is determined by his or her relationship with the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we can read that in the Bhagavad Gita. According to the three modes, this is in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, according to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the 4 divisions of human society are created by me. So that's important to know, because this in this text, the reference is on Grihastha life. And then Prabhupada, he actually goes in and gives some details about this. Srila Prabhupada, he says, in this verse, Sukadeva Goswami is repeating what the Lord himself has explained. And he explains here that one is obliged to continue the term of material existence because of household life. One is obliged. But the Lord, being very kind upon householders, demonstrated a path of sanctifying ordinary household life. So ordinary household life would be for those persons that, like Ekavira and myself, who are imperfect. And by the grace and mercy of our spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada, of course, we getting some understanding of this path of bhakti and getting some understanding of awakening our love for God, for Krishna. Ekavira wonderfully said that our entire purpose as grihastas, and anyone's purpose, is to be attached to Krishna. So how do we develop this attachment to Krishna? Again, going back to understanding the Varnashram system, which is the beginning of the system that helps us to understand who we are in this world. So the Varna is important. Knowing our Varna is very important, and understanding the ashram. Of course, here we're in the Grihastha ashram. So the ashram is determined by the stage of life and spiritual development, by our stage of life and spiritual development. Basically, there are 4 ashrams, and this is like talking to the choir. Everyone is aware of this. However, just because there may always are someone that is new in our sanghas, it's important to re-emphasize these different ashrams. And so the ashram of brahmacharya, which is a student, the ashram of grihastha, which is household life, the ashram of vanaprastha, which are the those that are retired, which Ekavira Prabhu and I are like retired vanaprasthas, and renunciation, sannyas, those persons that are renunciant. They have taken vows to make the world their family. So Krishna again explains this in Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter, in the 31st verse, where he says, as long as one is not liberated, right? So that means that person is still evolving on the path. One must perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with religious principles in order to achieve liberation, in order to achieve the goal, the goal of Varnashram, which is liberation. So on the bodily platform, Swadharma is called Varnashram, and or a person stepping stone for spiritual understanding. Basically, the Varnashram system was set up by the Lord himself for those persons who are not yet ready for Sanatana Dharma, not yet, they're in that process of developing more Sanatana Dharma. And so the original purpose of Varnashram that Krishna set up was to help anyone from the position that they may be in to gradually advance to the highest stage of Krishna consciousness. And that is the process that we've been given as Krishna exemplified in this text, and also as Srila Prabhupada has shared with us about Grihastha life. What is the real meaning of Grihastha life? It's to develop attachment to Krishna. However, we can't just jump into, oh, we're so attached to Krishna. No, that's not what Srila Prabhupada says. He explains to us that, yes, ultimately, all of us, everyone that's engaged in the Grihastha ashram, is to understand that the partner that they've been gifted with to serve is to help them to remember their relationship with the Lord. That is the purpose of Grihastha life. That we can't get away from. That's a basic principle. However, Prabhupada goes on to explain He says, because Krishna is the center of all activities, ultimately, we are to become attached to Krishna. A Krishna conscious household of life is transcendental to all the Vedic injunctions and is automatically sanctified. That means a Krishna conscious person, a person that is fully absorbed in love of God, in love of Krishna. And this is where we can understand that the Vanashram system is set up so that we can get training in how to ultimately develop this love for Krishna, to be ultimately connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Vanashram system purifies us to come to this place. Now, in Gita Nagari, there is something called the Gita Nagari prophecy, where Srila Prabhupada himself said that he personally was coming back to Gita Nagari in order to set up the system of Vanashram, because he could understand that the practitioners of bhakti at the time that Srila Prabhupada was on the planet was not quite ready for being fully absorbed in Sanatana Dharma, because he understood that we were basically we are basically, I am imperfect, I am very imperfect, and that this process is a gradual process. Prabhupada has explained this many times. It's a gradual process. And the tendency of human beings is to want to jump and become immediately those pure, perfect rahastas. Now, in our essence, Prabhupada does explain that we are pure. We are pure. However, we have forgotten that we're pure. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I will give you remembrance and forget. I give for remembrance and forgetfulness. So because we're in this conditioned state in the material world, we have forgotten. And Krishna says, but I will give you remembrance. So this system was set up in order to help us to remember our relationship ultimately with the Lord. And so Prabhupada explains to us in the Bhagavatam, in the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, we all are familiar with this verse. Savaya pum sams paro dharmo, yato bhaktira hoksaje, ahoitakiya pratyata, yayatmasu prasidati. The supreme occupation, the dharma for all humanity, is that by which any person can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self, completely satisfy who we are. So the topmost principle then is to render service to the Lord. And that's the Grihasta's business, is to render service to the Lord. When a person learns how to render service to the principle of the Supreme Personality of God, then that is the ultimate goal of all religious principles. So in this text, yes, Krishna's example is there, and we will learn from him some of the things that we can do in order to purify our consciousness to come to this place where we're fully practicing Sanatana Dharma. Prabhupada says again, by advancing from bodily conceptions to spiritual consciousness, a person can reawaken his or her Krishna consciousness. So the idea of the Grihastha ashram is to move out of this bodily concept of life, of thinking, well, this is my wife, this is my husband, and everything is based on us, on the me principle, right? That's not what Krishna is explaining. That's not what Krishna's example is for us in this text. And it's not that there are not examples of this type of purity of grihastas. We have in our scriptures so many of this, the institution of marriage in our Vedic perspective, from our Vedic perspective, sorry. So we have many personalities that teaches us the example that Krishna ultimately laid the foundation for us. However, we have other examples, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Yamaraj. They are described as Mahajans, as Grihastas. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the ideal Grihasta. And later on, he, of course, became a sannyas. And many of the associates of Lord Chaitanya also were in Grihasta life. Arjuna was a Grihasta. He was also a king. He was also a politician. And Krishna, he selected Arjuna for giving him this transcendental knowledge. Srila Vyasadeva was a Grihasta. So there's many personalities in our scriptures that we can look to in terms of practicing the Grihasta life. Keeping in mind this point that Jeffrey said, that Jeffrey Prabhu shared, in terms of modernity, many things, most people are not able to be such examples as these great personalities. However, in Grihasta life, there are basic things that we can follow to help us. Prabhupada speaks about this in the purport, and about us becoming more dedicated in our Grihasta system. And this process, the devotional service, which is ultimately what the Grihastas need to embrace. We as Grihastas, we want to embrace this principle of devotional service to the Lord, because that's the actual Dharma, which is, as we said, Sanatana Dharma. And at the same time, understanding that we are going through a process. So there are five potent activities of devotional service. We hear this all the time. Associate with devotees, chant the holy names of the Lord, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, reside at Mathura, and worship the deities. And most of the Grihastas that were blessed to practice Grihasta life by Srila Prabhupada in ISKCON, we have an opportunity to engage in these different activities. However, Prabhupada cites that out of the 5 processes, that there are 3 that are specifically recommended for the Grihastas. 3 of these, which are chant the holy names of the Lord, worship the deity, and serve the devotees. Now, we can do that as Grihastas wherever we are, and whatever stage we may be in evolving to becoming perfect Grihastas. So, chant the holy names of the Lord. We know we can chant the Lord's name anytime, at any place. That is the recommended process for this age, is the Sankirtan Yagya. And of course, we know that, especially in the Bhakti Center, that is such a focus to be able to chant the holy names of the Lord. Worship the deity, Shri Radha Murlidhar is being given such nice care and attention by many Grihastas there in the Bhakti Center. And of course, serve the devotees. So Grihastas are engaged in serving the devotees by giving in charity. There's so many different ways that the Grihastas are encouraged to serve. Prabhupada tells us that the Grihastas are actually to serve the other 3 ashrams that we spoke about, the brahmacharis, the sannyasis, and the vanaprasthis. The Grihastas' duty is to serve them. And by serving them, they become purified. Grihastas become purified. So there's an example of Maharaj Yudhishthira, that he thought that because he was a Grihasta, there was no hope of him being liberated. There was no hope that he would become a perfect being. And he asked Narada Muni, how can he get out of material entanglement? Because yes, it is a fact, Grihasta life can be entangling, because Grihasta life means children. It means having to have economic development. It means having to make sure that a person is able to take responsibility for another person's spiritual life. So there is quite a bit of entanglement. However, Narada Muni, he cited a practical example of his own life, and established that, Narada Muni established that by associating with devotees and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, that any person in any condition of life can achieve the highest perfection. So it's not that devotees, because of modernity, cannot achieve the highest perfection. That highest perfection is there. However, as I heard Achita saying the other day when she gave class for Kodashi, she was mentioning that that Maya Devi, the way that she affects us is through the mind. Our own minds can be a distraction for us not being able to, or not having the desire to develop the ultimate perfection of Grihastha life. And I just want to share one last thing before we close, because we do want to have you share your realizations about Grihastha life and share maybe some questions about the Grihastha life, since somehow or other we have been trying to be engaged in the Grihastha life for over 30 years. And we've maybe, by Krishna's mercy, maybe by our Guru Maharaj's mercy, we are beginning to understand that our purpose of being together as Grihasthas is to develop love for Krishna, is to have attachment for Krishna. I remember Srila Ranat Maharaj, when he was at our wedding, he told us, he shared with us, he said, see each other as devotees first. And our dear spiritual master, our beloved spiritual master, he engaged us in that way throughout our married life, seeing each other as devotees first. And that has always proven for us to be the impetus that keeps us wanting to offer ourselves in service as Grihasthas. And so there's 12 principles for Krishna conscious Grihastha life in modernity. 12 principles, real quickly. First one is alignment with Srila Prabhupada's teachings. That we cannot get free from. That we have to do. Grihasthas must be aligned with the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. Spiritual growth and progress, we need to be aware of that. Spiritual equality and understanding our material differences. Mutual respect and appreciation. Commitment and dedication. Open and honest communication. Personal and social responsibility. Economic development and prosperity. Focus on children's welfare. Developing family love and affection. And regulated balance and exemplary life. That is important for modernity, to develop family love and affection, and to be regulated and balanced and exemplary in our lifestyle. Remembering that always the purpose of Grihastha life is to be attached to Krishna, ultimately. The Tigeranga, thank you so very much, Prabhus. Haribol.
Jai, thank you so much, Ekavira Vrajalila Prabhus. Wonderful class, wonderful example. You were speaking from the point of realization and living those principles. We have 2 hands raised, Krishna Kumari, followed by the temple room.
Yeah, Krishna Kumari. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. I'm really so inspired, actually. Something came through today. I'm not usually like loving Zoom, but I'm surrendering to it. But now I'm realizing that this is like a chance for us, if we have the vision, to see, just like Narada did, Krishna in everyone's home. We're all the Shakti, we're all the wives of Krishna, so it just seems so beautiful to be able to see like Bhima's barn and Annabelle's brother doing the Radanga hands, and Krishna's in each one of our homes, and they're actually Krishna's homes. So I was just really feeling inspired today by this verse, even though this has been all week kind of the message. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna Kumari. So wonderful to see you.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's great when we see these soldiers, these warriors that keep sticking it out. Thank you so much. Perseverance. Hari Hari.
I'm still married also.
Krishna, mercy, that special mercy from the Lord, grace from the Lord. These are difficult times for everyone. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhus. Thank you so much for giving class.
Hare
Krishna. My question was something that was alluded to in the last comment and also at the end of your talk about this idea of cultivating the attachment to Krishna. In Mother Amila's class not too long ago, and in various purports, Prabhupada talks about this idea of perceiving perceiving Krishna as one's husband, so to say. And so I was curious your thoughts about that and how this plays into our life.
Yeah, you're speaking about the point that you just made.
Oh, okay. Firstly, Prabhu, what is your name?
Manohar Das.
Manohar Das. Very nice to meet you, Manohar Das, Prabhu. It's nice that you're at the temple. And I heard you say you were sharing something Mother Urmila shared. Would you kindly repeat that?
Yes, she was elaborating on this idea that ultimately Krishna is kind of like our husband, so to say, or cultivating that idea that in this world, Krishna is our ultimate maintainer. Although we do have these various relationships throughout the course of our lives. So I'm curious how we can cultivate that idea in a balanced way in all of our relationships.
Thank you so very much, Prabhu. Thank you for that. Yeah. Yes, Krishna is the source of everything, right? Krishna is the seed-given father of everyone, everything, every situation. So ultimately, it's important for us to always keep Krishna in the center. And that's in Prabhupada's purport. Krishna is the center of our existence. That we cannot forget. Now, how do we develop that attachment in a regulated way? Well, we have to, because not just grihastas, but everyone today have to juggle so many different things, right? In life, just like you're a brahmachari, you're a student. And the brahmacharis, it's not that it's so easy for them. Sometimes we think it's not so, because they appear not to have responsibility sometimes, many responsibilities. However, we do know that the brahmachari student has one of the greatest responsibilities of exemplifying attachment to Krishna by their study of the scriptures. So brahmachari life, it's important to be able to first share the scriptures with others. That's your duty, that's your purpose, right? And to live what you're teaching, what you're sharing. That will help you, that will help all of us actually in balancing our lifestyle. To remember that, yes, you're a student and your duty is to, not your duty, but your natural innate condition is to remember that love for Krishna. At the same time, you're a person, you're a human, and it's important for you to be able to make that connection with other people based on your human condition. So I remember once an experience with, I think the side's getting ready. Haribol Prabhu, so he's getting ready to
After glow, Vrajalila, I want to hear about that experience.
Thank you so much. Shri Shri Radha Muridara Gaura Chandana Sami Bhagavana Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Afterglow. Ekavira Prabhu, Vrajalila Prabhu, do you have a few minutes? Yeah. So you were talking about the experience that you had. Would you like to continue?
I think I'd shared this story once before. I'm sure I shared it before. However, yeah, there are many stories related to the question that Manohar Prabhu asked. And the one that comes to mind is when His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was leaving his body. One of the challenges we faced was caring for someone that was leaving their body, and at the same time taking the person as our spiritual master. So the guru disciple principle, and then also the reality that the person is leaving the body. And so we were a little bit challenged with how to offer the care, given that serving the guru has a certain kind of mood, and serving a dying person has a certain kind of mood. So we inquired from Srila Rannath Swami about the challenge we were facing, because he would call us often. Something he reminded us, in order to be balanced and exemplary, Manohara Prabhu, he said, just remember the human side of him. Remember the human side. So in your pursuit of being a brahmacharya, always remember that there is a human side. And that human side it's important for you to become very aware of how that human side interacts with others and primarily with yourself. That's very important as you learn and grow in your ashram.
Thank you for that question. I just wanted to add something also, brother.
Yeah.
The second time you actually asked the question, you illustrated a very important point. How do you apply this principle with balance? Because seeing Krishna as one's husband, and while in a material stage of life can be a challenge. We may have that desire and then be in a relationship with a spouse, and in our day-to-day interactions, we don't deal with our spouse as the loving servant of Krishna, because they may exemplify what Vrajalila said, the human side. And we see Krishna as our husband, as our husband. And so one way that we can tell if we really see Krishna as our husband is if we deal with the persons in our association as if Krishna is present. We deal with that person as if that person is Krishna themselves. We deal with them with care, respect. And in that way, it helps us to realize that we are dealing with, with Krishna's parts and parcel in a way that's pleasing unto the Lord. So and I say that because there's a tendency, for myself, there's a tendency to, jump and want to engage in sahajism, and go beyond my own adhikar. And so therefore, that is the reason why there is the recommended process of Vaidhi Bhakti, under the care and guidance of the spiritual masters, engaging one in a way that's balanced and focused in a way that's pleasing unto Krishna, and not creating a disturbance in our relationships.
Karen. Thank you, Manahar Prabhu.
Thank you again. Really wonderful question.
Thank you for your answers. They're very enlightening, and they addressed a wide variety of subtopics. So I'm very grateful to you both. Thank you so much.
Yes, there, Karen.
Hare Krishna. It just made me kind of wonder, just on my own. I'm so grateful for everything you've said. It's really kind of encouraging and inspiring to kind of live in the stresses of a household life. But I kind of wanted to see if you could speak on a little bit, if in the event that that our partners may not really share and hold the same spiritual aspirations as us, and all of the kind of like almost crippling obstacles that can arise in these kinds of circumstances, when it's just not, you're not on the same page in that way, and it trickles into nearly every interaction, and like situation and obstacle that comes up as managing family life does. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you for that beautiful question, Karen. Yes, mutual respect and appreciation is so important in practicing bhakti. Without mutual respect and appreciation, it's very difficult to develop intimate relationships. And if we're not appreciating and if we're not mutually respecting each other, then it definitely leads to some kind of deterioration in our connections or in our association. So if we're in a relationship where there's not mutual respect and appreciation, then it's important for us to be that ourselves, to always be appreciative and always be respectful, even when somebody may be challenged by whatever they may be challenged with. Sometimes our partners may go through different kinds of traumatic experiences that we may not be so familiar with the how they may be dealing with this particular situation, and the external ways that it appears may be totally not according to our standards. However, if we have internally developed this mood of mutual respect and appreciation, then there is a place and time for seeing if there's a way we can have dialogue about whatever the other person's challenge may be, or we may want to include somebody else in helping us to have dialogue. Because at the end of the day, we're all imperfect. Well, you know, in Grahasta life, we're imperfect, and we're trying to, either both persons are doing, trying to do their best. And sometimes one may have more challenges with the mind than another. Yes. And you know, Karen, it's kind of this, like we said, our sutra is two imperfect beings who refuse to give up on each other. Now, sometimes that's not always easy. Sometimes we do give up on each other. That's a fact. I can speak that from experience. At the same time, we try our best. We do our best to be respectful and to be appreciative as best as we can. And then always have, you know, some person that we trust, that we can always go to reveal our minds. Rupa Goswami says, revealing our minds in confidence. Importantly, in Grihastha life, it begins with each other. Revealing our minds in confidence begins with sharing with each other. However, if we're not able to do that with each other due to maybe not having communication skills or whatever the case may be, then it's important to have somebody else that we trust to reveal our minds to. So very important. Hope that was
Thank you,
helpful,
Hare
Karen.
Krishna. Thank you.
Also, there's a reason why we came together in the first place in our relationship. And so it's important to revisit that. What is the reason? And of course, you know, sometimes we may not have come together with a God-centered purpose. But at the same time, the point that Vrajalila was making is that by the nature of our example, if there's some affection in the heart of our spouse, then that association will have some impact. I remember there was reading a story. It was about a lady who was a staunch observer of the religious principles and would go to church regularly. And her husband he just was inimical. And he got to the point where she would go to church, and when she come back, he would lock the door so she couldn't use the key, lock the screen door so she couldn't use the key to get inside the house. And then he'd go to bed. And so she'd have to sit on the porch and wait. And then, you know, that's abusive. It's abusive. And he'd do other things and act really mean. And then when he eventually would come to the door and open the door for her, she'd come in and she'd greet him. Oh, good morning. How are you today? What would you like for breakfast? As if, you know, nothing happened. And so she shares this story because this particular person in her life eventually became a major pastor in the Christian, you know, tradition. I can't remember his name. I think it was Bruce Wilkinson or something. But he became a very prominent pastor. And that was based upon the nature of her example, being a servant of a servant and seeing, you know, more divinity in him than he even saw in himself. And so that mood that we carry and seeing Krishna in the heart of someone else can have such a transformational effect. There's this devotee, I tell this story often. one of my friends who passed a couple of years ago, Bali Maharaj. He was very simple. Um, he was, not someone that was very scholarly. At the same time, when he came in contact with people, he would transform their hearts just by the nature of his association. And yeah, he was loved so much, because of this quality.
I think Venetia is there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Karen, one last thing that we want to share. We really recommend premarital counseling for anyone that wants to get married. Absolutely. We need to get to know the person that we're going to be with for the rest of our lives, as much as we can.
Because also in this day and age, previous ages, we had the support of the family, extended families, and they acted as guides in our relationship. Now we don't have that. So it's important to actually to understand more about the person we're interacting with or will interact with for the rest of our lives, more information about them, what is at the core of their hearts before we enter into a relationship.
Thank you. Do we have time for Beneath? Thank you so much, Karen. Beneath says on there, Prabhu. Venetia? Yes.
I'll jump in. Yes. Well, maybe Ananda Bahari isn't paying attention, and then he can cut me off if he wants. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Always such a pleasure to see you both. So inspiring, practical, shastric, wonderful class. And I just wanted to quickly respond to what Karen said, because I'm also married to a non-devotee, and sometimes that can be challenging. And I've received some really nice advice lately, and in particular from my Gurudev, that obviously we're not trying to convert our spouses who are not devotees, but to go to Krishna and bring Krishna into the relationship. Ask Krishna to enter into the relationship and pray for your spouse, and not pray like, oh, let them become a devotee, but just pray for them, to be open to Krishna and be open to Krishna's guidance, and kind of invite Krishna into the relationship, and even maybe, practically speaking, like chant an extra round of japa for your husband. Just any way you can pray for him. Again, not with any explicit desire to manipulate or convert or anything like that, but just, bring Krishna in. Hare Krishna. Hope that helps.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay in touch, Karen and Venetia. Ananda Bihari Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was
Does
thinking.
Adi Purusha Prabhu want to share anything?
Yes, Prabhu.
Closing us out?
Yes.
Hi, Krishna. Wonderful, wonderful class. Thank you so much. We know Prabhupada, among the verses in the purport, there was the idea of becoming purified, that the activities of a householder life, we purify our consciousness. An individual is purified from the level of selfishness and greed and lust to the point of love and giving. And household life can be like that too. We can team up to be cooperating to enhance our sense gratification. Radhanath Swami was saying in the household of life, the tendency is to drift toward accumulating bank balance and lust. So we're thinking about what we get and how we feel. And then he said, so the purifying element is, two of the things Vaisheshika Babu mentions is, household is intended to receive a gift, to receive a guest. We know from Prabhupada Leela that Prabhupada's father, every night he would receive guests. An extra seat at the table, or two or three, and feed people, to feed the sadhus and feed the guests. And Vaisheshika Babu was reading from the Bhagavatam, and he said to us, if a household does not receive a guest, he's an animal. I was like, whoa, oh, that's intense. If he does not receive a guest, so we're meant to receive guests. We're also meant to give in charity. We naturally have, when we get to the household of ashram, we start to figure out how to support ourselves, to be some generating of Lakshmi. But that Lakshmi is not just meant to be piled up. A fair portion of it is supposed to go for pushing on Lord Chaitanya's movement. Prabhupada was saying 50%. I don't know if anybody does that, but wow, 50%. Life is so expensive in ferociously expensive cities and everything. How can we possibly give it? But even Kolaveja Sridhar, who had a business, banana leaves are growing everywhere. He would pick banana leaves and make banana leaf cups and sell the cups. But he was giving 50% of his income for the support of the worship of Mother Ganges. So it may seem impossible. And what I've perceived in my own experience over the years, different people that I know that were married and have a business, if the intention of the business was to support the temple or push on some kind of a preaching project, their business was on a certain scale. But if the intention of the business was to support the family, and then they give a little bit left over, we'll give that in charity. So if our intention of engaging in entrepreneurial activity is to please Krishna, then things work out. And with Krishna in the center, it says the Christians say a man and woman shouldn't walk toward each other because they'll just bump their heads. But they can walk hand in hand toward God forever, ever closer to Krishna. So if we have that orientation, and you were saying, find out your partner, find out what they're like. But Manisha was saying, pray to Krishna, not to change my husband, but to change me so that I treat my husband the way Krishna wants me to, or my wife, and that we bring Krishna into it, and Krishna will help us in the process of engaging in devotional service. It says, seek first the kingdom of God, and all else will follow. When we have $1 million, all our $10 problems are solved. So if we focus on devotional service, and the purpose of our relationship is serve Krishna, everything else will be there. Marianne Williams says this very funny thing. Her boyfriend said, okay, Marianne, it's you and me against the world. He said, when he heard that, I said, I think I'm going to change sides.
Haribol.
We have to be careful that we don't team up for sense gratification.
That's right.
That we team up to serve Krishna, and everything else will be there. I'm sorry I talked so long over the Prabhupada.
No, thank you so much, Prabhu. We appreciate, always appreciate hearing from you.
Thank you, my God.
Yeah, thank you. I had a great thought while Adipusha Prabhu was speaking. I thought of marriage as an equation. And if Krishna is in that equation, even on one side, then eventually, like Adipusha Prabhu said, things work out. We can't give up. Like Ekavira Prabhu and Vrajalila said, we cannot give up. My husband is a devotee. Yeah, if Krishna is in the equation, we're good. And,
that girl asking the question about what should I do if my husband isn't so much into devotional service, our criteria for success is to please Krishna.
Yes, thank you.
And if we do our humble best under any circumstance, Lord, this is all I can do, Krishna will be pleased and will be successful. And be patient. Even in the Bible, it says that, just as long as your spouse is not interfering with your spiritual life, then you should stay with them for the sake of hopefully influencing them in a positive direction. Krishna is so wonderful.
I think that's key, Purush Prabhu, is very key if the person is not interfering with your spiritual life. And if they are interfering with your spiritual life, then it really is important to get guidance. And yes, Prabhu, another point that you were making about the equation, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he always gave us this triangle. That in the triangle, Krishna is at the top, and Ekavira is on one side, and I'm on the other side. So, and Guru is in the middle, watching the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
At one point you're making about, the householders receiving guests, and also that Prabhupada recommended that grihastas give 50%. I remember one program, and there was a group that was there, and one representative, he was so intense. He was speaking to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. How could your guru say give 50%? Do you know how expensive things are and how difficult it is to manage? That's not even, how can you do that? And Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj responded. He said, yes, I understand your concern. Things are so expensive, it's difficult to manage and everything. And that's one way of looking at this situation. And we can ask that question. How can, he say something like this? The other way we can look at it is that why only 50%? Why is it that I only give 50% of my life when the Lord is supposed to be my life and soul? Why is it only 50%? And so the essence is whatever we do it in a mood of sacrifice and service to, others and for the pleasure of the Lord. And so I remember when he expressed like that, the person, he got quiet. He said, I didn't think of it in that way. Yeah.
Nice.
And then, sorry,
okay.
Prabhu, I know you got to go to work usually. So we hope we're not keeping you from your job.
Thank you very much. Okay, dear devotees, whatever
Thank you,
your husband
Ekavira
brings.
Prabhu. Yay, Haribo. And Ananda Bihari, we heard you had a baby. You had a baby.
Yeah, we have baby Ram. Baby Ram, please bless Ram to offer his heart to Krishna and grow up to be a healthy and helpful servant in Lord Chaitanya's movement, please.
Well, he has a wonderful name and wonderful parents, and definitely a wonderful community in the Bhakti Center.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhus.
Thank you. We saw Bhima jump on here too. Hare Krishna, Bhima Prabhu.
Hey, look at Bhima. Haribo. He's quiet. What's up, Prabhu? What's up?
He's recovering from following the Kaddishi intensely yesterday. He's too weak to speak.
Telling stories. I just try to. This is a little bit beyond me. If I can rise with the sun and go to bed when the sun sets and not make my wife mad in between that time, and I take it day to day, then I'm a success. That's all I do. I just try to keep it peaceful. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Karen, Venetia, whatever your husband brings home as a salary, take half of it, give it to Krishna, especially if they're not into bhakti, and things will work out. Yeah. And another question we can ask ourselves, am I a devotee? My husband that's between him and Krishna, but am I a devotee today? That's the real question. And Ekavira and Vrajalila, Prabhus, they are examples of how things can work out miraculously by Krishna's grace. When Krishna is in the picture, Guru is in the picture, and there's sincerity and burning desire to surrender to Krishna under the circumstances. My husband is a devotee, thank you, Krishna. My husband is not a devotee, thank you, Krishna. I'm going to keep pushing Lord Chaitanya's movement. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhus. Bowing down to you. Thank you. We love you. Hare Krishna. Take care.
Bowing down to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.